Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Zuko, and today I got a new unboxing haul for you. However, the plans have changed a little bit. Originally, I had a completely different set of figures that I wanted to talk about today, but I just got Amakuni's power figure from Chainsaw Man in the mail today, so I figured why not take this opportunity to review this one as fast as possible. But we also got some other figures to talk about, some smaller ones, a way bigger one, very expensive figure at the end of this video, and also some miscellaneous merchandise. So let's get to it. Alright, so let's start off small with this. What is this? This is in fact the Bocchi the Rock Hitori deformation figure, Tsuchinoko and Mendako version. I just bought this because it looked funny. Also, as you can see, I'm using this mic today just because the quality is way better, and the other mics have been giving me some trouble, but I bet this unboxing is very loud next to this mic, so I should probably be a little quiet, but I guess I'll find out in post. Boom. Yeah, so I don't really know what compelled me to buy these two. It cost me about 56 bucks for both of these. I actually bought them from Right Stuff, and I'm very surprised that I got them in April, because they released in April. So how did I get them so fast when I bought them from a US store? A US store, mind you, that was absorbed by Crunchyroll, so yeah, just a bit of a surprise that I already have these two in my hands. Now, are these worth it? I would say for 56 bucks, not really, but they are cute, and they feel soft. They don't look like they're low quality. I think they're pretty decently sized, and I really just bought these two to put, like, behind me on my shelves or, like, on my desk so that you would periodically see them. I thought that would be kind of funny. Hitori has the ability to transform into these mythical and fantastical creatures, and they're represented here, the Tsuchinoko snake and the Mendako slime blob thing. I like that the Mendako has the guitar. It looks like a cookie, like the way it's sculpted. Like the icing would be the yellow outline and the white strings. It's obviously not, but yeah, cute stuff. Alright, next up we're going to talk about this. Here we have Maka from Soul Eater, the Pop-Up Parade. I have a few things to say about this, but let's get her out first. I feel so limited with my space, I can't move because of this thing. But yeah, we actually have a little bit of assembly. So, Maka Albarn. Now, this was a very cool surprise when Good Small Company announced this one, because it's been so long since anybody has made a Soul Eater figure. And while a pop-up parade isn't the most exciting thing, you bet your ass I'm gonna order it, and this figure looks pretty good, though I will say I'm a little upset at the quality control on the scythe, or soul rather, because it's all scratched up. And I don't know how that happens, because I just opened this figure, but it's a little rough. I feel like I haven't seen a figure look this scratched up, like, immediately from unboxing it in quite a while. Everything else in terms of the quality control, though, really isn't that bad. In fact, it looks solid. I really wouldn't complain about anything else, considering the price point. And I really like the faithfulness to Soul Eater's art style. I love the way they designed her eyes, and the little scowl of her mouth looks pretty good too. I like the expression. She's a little angry, which is very fitting. I think the mouth looks slightly worse than the promo photos, but I feel like that's always going to happen because cheaper figures aren't going to, like, refine details like that. They just get the job done. As long as it looks serviceable, it's good to go. But I do feel like it could have been, you know, slightly tweaked here and there to look a little bit better. I love the pose of this Maka figure, though. She's all stanced up, ready to fight, right? She's got just the right level of dynamism for a rather simple figure, thanks to the billowing of the jacket and the flow of her twin tails. And you know, I feel like the paint job looks pretty decent here. There's nothing complex. It's all matte paint. They're not really mixing in different finishes like gloss or metallic paint or stuff like that. But it's pretty damn clean for the most part, and certainly, like, color accurate. I have nothing to complain about in terms of the colors they chose here. So yeah, a little sloppy here and there. I noticed the plaid skirt has a bit of, like, some of the, I don't know, decal or decal missing, but other than that, I'm pretty satisfied. I think Soul, the scythe, looks awesome. But yeah, man, why haven't we gotten more figures announced yet? This surely sold well. I have to imagine a lot of people bought this. But I don't really feel like this is super popular in Japan. I feel like the audience for Soul Eater is most likely in America or maybe the UK, and maybe that's why they're not in a rush to make more of these characters, but we should really have, like, Kid and Black Star, or at the very least Soul. Just have Soul next to Maka and I would be satisfied. But they can make a lot of money with these. I don't know why they're hesitating. This is a good figure. It's not amazing, but it's faithful to the source material, and I think she looks cute, because Maka's just a cute character, and I really want more of these, so I hope it happens. And now, this. I really don't appreciate Amazon sending me this in a cardboard mailer, but here we have the Xenoblade 3 official artworks Aionios Moments. Of course I was gonna buy this, and I figured, why not just show it off very quickly in this video. There's a lot of information in this book. It's a lot of concept art, but there is also some very interesting reveals from Takahashi, which I think some people did not see coming. In fact, I don't think anybody saw coming. Some of the stuff he says was absolutely wild in this book. It's a very big book, about 445 pages, I believe. So, yeah, lovely stuff. Love the cover art. And the inside of the cover art, too, which I'll get a photo of. The B-roll and whatnot, but you got them kissing. That's fucking adorable. And also, I was not expecting to get a photo of Mio changing her clothes in this book, but I certainly appreciate it. Before we get to Power, though, I got one more thing. This stack, they're gonna fall off the desk. So, I never talked about these, but I did buy Wave 3 of the Xenoblade 3 acrylic stands. They put out 10 extra stands. I'm at 22 acrylic stands. Which, when you think about it, that is so much money to spend on acrylic stands, to the point where I don't want to think about it. But yeah, this wave was all the characters from Future Redeemed, as well as N, M, and Alpha, which was very surprising. Those last three I don't think anybody saw coming, but it's very much appreciated. I don't think I'm going to open these. It actually takes a while to, and I kind of want to leave them in the plastic for now, because there's 22 of them, and that's a lot of space when you think about it, if you want them to not look all cramped next to each other. But, yeah, very happy that they made a Wave 3. I'm assuming this is the end, and they won't make any more, but I'm okay with that. 22 is enough. You know what I do want, though? I want Good Small Company to actually put up Mio. It's been 2 months since we saw her painted figure, but no update. They're just waiting on something, so, I'm getting anxious right now. But let's clear the table and talk about Power. Hoopla. Can I just say, before we get into this review, this is like S+ in terms of a box design. I don't know if the glare is messing it up, but I absolutely love the presentation on this box. It's so stylish, and it's very reminiscent of the aesthetic of the Chainsaw Man manga with all the colorful blood. It kind of looks like paint in some areas, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be blood. I love this front. This is probably the best panel. This is a pretty heavy base. Makes sense, though. It's a giant mallet's head on it. Okay. So, Power by Amakuni. This was an excessively expensive figure at around 27,500 yen, and the shipping was very high as well. It cost me about 8,800 yen EMS, which I feel like was a bit too much. I was kind of caught off guard by that, but she is available to ship by service mail, so you can save money that way. Now, when she finally released, and we started to see some, photos of her, there was a lot of, worry and doom and gloom and a bit of panic, because she didn't look as good as those original photos when she went up for pre-order. And it all really had to do with her face, specifically her teeth. Now, I'm just gonna get this out of the way before I talk about anything else. Her teeth do not look as good as advertised. In fact, when I was looking at her right now, I almost thought her teeth weren't pointy, but they are. You just have to get really close up to see them. So I do feel like that's a pretty decent knock against this figure. That was one of my favorite parts about this sculpt. Her face looked so damn good that it pretty much pushed me to pre-order this figure. I just loved how arrogant and pompous her expression was, and they definitely still nailed her personality, but it's not what they initially promised, and I feel a little disappointed by that. Thankfully, it seems like they nailed everything else, so I really have nothing else to complain about with this Power figure, which is great. But yeah, you know what? This Power figure's base is pretty damn cool, and it feels like a very effective way of demonstrating just how strong she is, because she's wielding this gigantic blood mallet, and just by placing it on the concrete has caused it to smash into pieces. The blood is now splattered all over the place, and that blood looks very good, but not as good as the mallet itself, which has this really deep red glossy paint job. It looks fantastic, and I love all the cracks and imperfections of the blood hammer and the street itself because it's smashed into bits. But yeah, this mallet really catches the eye, whether it be the gloss or the fusion of different like red and black tones. It's just absolutely perfect, and I love how it's incorporated with the rest of the composition. Not only is it smashing the base itself, but you know, Power is also leaning against it. It gives her a very grounded and natural pose that mixes in with the fictional elements, and it all feels well thought out. And because it's Amakuni, I feel like they went with this outfit in particular so that they could try and hone in on like the prettier aspects of Power, such as her legs, which have really nice shading, like the skin is all perfectly done, very soft to the touch too, as you would expect. And I love the attention to detail they gave her fingers, which might get overlooked by some people, but she's got very sharp nails, and I really do appreciate that. On the topic of sharp, she's also got those horns, which are a nice glossy red, and I guess that brings us to her hair, which is very nicely done, perfect hair shading, and the sculpt is stellar thanks to the defined hair strands and the sense of flow that it captures. And I guess all that's really left to talk about here is her outfit. Now these are Power's casual clothes, which we sometimes see her wear. Eastream is making a figure of this design where she's sitting on the porcelain throne, though we don't have the privilege of getting a toilet with this figure. Instead, she's just chilling outside with the hammer, which is fine by me. But I've always liked this outfit for Power. It feels like a good fit for her, makes her look a little bit cuter to me. But yeah, man, Amakuni made like the shirt and the jean shorts as wrinkly and creased as possible, I suppose to make them look a little bit more realistic, because otherwise they're pretty simplistic in terms of just like the design, but not to like a fault, that's just how they are. And I do like the little threads of the distressed shorts, though I wish some of it wasn't just painted on and rather sculpted instead, but maybe at this size that was easier said than done, so I'll cut them some slack. But yeah, the colors are nice, and there's a little bit of shading here and there, especially in the shorts. You can see like on the pockets and towards the edges, there's a little bit of like a lighter blue. And you know, like I mentioned earlier, Amakuni's doing their thing, so she kind of looks a little bit curvier than I remember. With her butt, with her chest, though Power is known to stuff a bra every now and then, so that's probably what's going on here. And then we have her sneakers, which look kinda comfy. The leather, the stitching, the shoelaces, and everything in between. I can always appreciate a nice sneaker sculpt. And there's no sloppy paint to be found down here, which I could also say for the rest of the figure. Like, as far as quality control goes, this is actually perfect, which is great to see. So yeah, this figure is like actually amazing for the most part, but because they messed up her teeth, I feel like I can't really recommend this. On top of the fact that she's also like way too expensive, just messing up the face of a figure really bothers me. I feel like if you're gonna mess up something, make sure it's not the face. That's the most important part. But you know, if you're a Power fan, if you're a Chainsaw Man fan, you'll like it. You'll definitely like it. But I'm a little sad, you know, Amakuni usually nails like everything they do. It's been a while since they really messed up something, and this isn't like a catastrophic mess up or anything, but it's enough. You know, it's enough for me to be like, kinda wish I waited for like a price drop or something, you know? But now, let's move on. Okay, I don't even know if you guys can hear me, but can I just say that this box is so stupidly big for the figure that's inside? I had to pay like 11,000 yen for this box, and there's one figure. Okay, what do we have in here? Ooh. Aqua from Bomber Girl. So yeah, this came out in January or February. I think it was January, but like late, so I got her in February. And I've been holding on to her for a while. She was 36,000 yen. And that shipping was very expensive, so this was like the most I spent on a figure in quite some time. So I'm hoping this lives up to the expectations. Definitely a cool box though, has some like gothic vibes to it, but a lot of blue, as the figure is also themed around the color blue, which we'll see in a second. But yeah, I dig it. I think this might be Zero Assembly. Also, this is massive. Okay, nice. Gotta remove some plastic from the twin tails. Alright, so like I said earlier, this is Bomber Girl's Aqua, the vampire negligee version, which I feel like is very self-explanatory, but we'll get to that in a second. I gotta say, this figure looks insanely impressive, like right off the bat. I thought this was a 1/6 scale at first, but she's actually a 1/7. I definitely just forgot that. But she's pretty damn big, and I think that's thanks to this base. And I'm not even really sure how to define it. Like, I thought she was in a cave setting. This bottom portion definitely reminded me of like rocks, except just colored in this really nice light blue, but in the shape of a claw, maybe. But the back is actually her cloak, and it's merging into the bottom portion. So maybe the entire thing is her cloak, and this is like a shadow of it or something. I'm not really sure. It's very abstract, and maybe even like otherworldly, but I definitely dig it. It certainly gives the figure an enormous presence, but I think there's also a bunch of other elements that do that as well. Now let's get this out of the way. This figure is blue. This figure is almost entirely blue, with some yellow contrast here and there, thanks to the bats and her golden crown. I love those bats. They're so goofy and cartoony, and they're acting like a throne for her, and one of them is more of like a pedestal, a footrest, right? But yeah, they're all around her. There's 5 in total, the one on the foot, there's 2 under her butt, and 2 under her arms, and they're just fully lifting her in the air, and I love it. It really does make you believe that she's just floating there thanks to the support of her little bat servants. But they're all so expressive. Some of them are crying, but most of them are at the very least stressed out. They're worried about it, they're anxious, and they're just trying to make sure they're doing their job without pissing her off. And I think that's a very fun idea. And speaking of expression, I guess we might as well talk about her face next. I feel like the best way to describe this expression would just be like arrogant and lewd at the same time. She's got her tongue sticking out, her fangs are on full display, she's blushing a little bit, she's got heart pupils, and I love the color of her eyeliner. There's a lot of red on her face, and I think that's a really nice contrast with the blue of her hair and the rest of the outfit. It really does pop, and I think just like the size of her eye decals and how clean they are makes her face look super good. That on top of the fact that her tongue is so big and it's also very glossy, I would say this is easily a 10 out of 10 face sculpt. She is so smug looking, so like suggestive and very lively at the same time. It's all so perfectly executed. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the vampire negligee version, which means she's wearing negligee of the vampire variety. What does that exactly mean? I'm not sure, but there's not much clothes to speak of on this figure. There's a balance between sexy and cute. There's a lot of like frills and ribbons, but her outfit is pretty revealing at the same time. Nothing too saucy, but her outfit is cut to highlight her slender physique and whatnot. All the white portions of the negligee are painted in pearlescent, and then the blue is just very rich, deep blue, which really catches your eye. I think that's what's so good about this figure is that it's all blue. There's so much goddamn blue on this figure, but it's not just one shade of blue, it's various shades of blue. And whenever they need to, they're going to apply the appropriate amount of shading just to add that level of complexity and richness so that your eyes never get tired of looking at it. The spectrum of blue is what I think makes this figure look so special, how they're handling all those individual blue tones and shades, but I also love the different finishes on this figure, the pearlescent paint, the matte of her skin, the shading so nice on her skin, and also the gloss. There's so much glossy paint on the back of her cloak. That dark blue is super nice to look at. Unfortunately, you don't get to see a lot of it, but you know, some of it's poking out and whatnot, so you get to appreciate it at least a little bit from the front. Other little details that I like. Her tail is wrapping around her leg, which I think is just a cute little interactive thing. All of her nails are also painted in a very light blue, which I think looks good. And she's got a tattoo on her stomach. You know what that means? I don't need to go into that, but you know what that means. The quality control on this one is nearly perfect, but unfortunately there's like a little bit of white on the bats under her foot. Thankfully it's on the back, so I'm not going to see it that often, but I do wish this wasn't there. But yeah, I'm inclined to say that this is like a near perfect figure. If it wasn't for that little mistake on the bat, I'd probably say this is a 10 out of 10. I think I forgot to mention how nice her drill hair looks, the twin tails. I don't have a lot of figures with twin tail drills, and I think this is a very appealing hairstyle, at least to me. Also the darker blue hair bands, which are kind of spiky, just for a little bit more contrast if you need it. And they really defined her belly button. I feel like this is the deepest belly button I've seen on an anime figure. At least in my collection. So yeah, Aqua is phenomenal. Highly recommend this one. I do not think she really dropped on the aftermarket. I know she's still available, but she like rarely pops up on the pre-owned section, and when she does, it's like 2,000 yen off. So I feel like they're really holding on to this one. They don't want it to drop in price considering how expensive she is, but we'll see. But that's going to do it. I think my battery is about to die, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back soon with another video. I think the pre-order roundup is coming up, but I have another haul for you guys coming pretty soon. So most likely 2 weeks for that one. Look forward to it. See you guys later. Appreciate it. Goodbye.